the obvious one, which it is a little early, like you were saying earlier, but just looking at the current playoff race in the NFL,
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to kind of give you the picture. I want you to tell me your predictions for the future for these specific teams and these groups.
Okay.
So, in the bubble, the playoff picture, we've got, of course, the Chiefs at 5-1.
They're an easy.
Yep, obvious.
Yeah.
The Dolphins at 5-1, which I think we all thought was going to happen, but you never know with all the Tua injuries and stuff
Right.
last year. The Jaguars at 5-2, number 3 in the playoff power rankings. And then we've got the Baltimore Ravens, which kind of surprised they're 4-2. I'm not going to lie to you. It just hasn't been pretty, but we'll go into that more. The Bills at 4-2, pretty predictable. Steelers at 3-2 at number 6. At 7, we got Browns at 3-2. So yeah, those are the main people in the hunt in the AFC. And then the NFC, we've got your Niners at 5-1.
Yeah, buddy.
Predictable as well. Eagles at 5-1. Lions at 5-1. Not so predictable. Although I think we all got a taste of it a little last year once they hit their stride. But 5-1. Leading their division. And then the Bucks, don't like them being in first of the division. They're there at 3-2. Cowboys 4-2. Again, been a little shaky, but also been like dominant at times.
Yep.
Seahawks at 3-2. Go Geno. And the Rams at 3-3, barely limping their way into the in the hunt picture.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what are your? I know we did like Super Bowl predictions, kind of. I did have the Dolphins in there, which it looks like they're definitely, if they keep this pace up, going to be in the playoffs.
I will say this about the Dolphins. This week, they play the Eagles. It'll be a good test to see where they're actually at.
Oh,
They have a
yeah.
very explosive offense and a very solid defense. And they put up crazy stats over the first 5-6 weeks. But they haven't played anybody that's like dominant yet. So when they play the Eagles this week, that'll be a game to definitely look out for on how they're actually performing.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not a good test because it obviously is. But who did the Eagles just lose to? And the Niners last week?
The Browns?
I mean, both underwhelming teams that they lost to. I know that much.
Right.
So it's like, shouldn't they both be 6-0 in testing each other as like real games right
I
now?
would take in a perfect world, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also would the Niners shouldn't have lost that game. It came down to
Yeah, I saw your kicker got
Yeah.
memed
yeah,
hard.
yeah. That shouldn't have been a game we lost. But did the Eagles lose to the Browns too? Who did they lose
The
to?
Eagles lost. It wasn't the Browns. They didn't play them last week because the Niners played them. Who did they play to?
I thought they lost earlier in the season.
It was not the Commanders. They almost lost to the Commanders. The Jets.
That's surprising.
You remember what I was saying about Zach Wilson?
I don't think
He ain't that bad. No, I'm not gonna say he won that game because the defense won that game.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense is nasty.
The defense is talented.
But Jets put up enough points to beat them.
I still think it'll be a good test. Everybody has an off week. Niners, the Eagles had an off week last week, but I think it will be a great game to see how the Dolphins are doing.
I mean, the Eagles, they have been blowing people out. I mean, the Commanders, they won by 3 the week before. The Rams, it won 23-14, and the Bucks, they won 25-11.
This was from, I saw it on the New Heights podcast the other day. Jason Kelsey was talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That he was sad with the state that the Eagles were in this year because their top scorer this season is their kicker.
Yeah.
Because their red zone efficiency has just been awful. They'll get to the red zone
And the
and
score
not
box
score.
kind of reflects that.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of chippy wins.
Yeah. Once they get back in sync, because they're not really in sync right now. Once they get back in sync, I think they'll be okay.
They're more like the Backstreet Boys right now.
they're the
They need to get
Backstreet.
back to in sync status. All right. Anyone else on this list? I know we rattled off a lot of teams. What about these fringe teams like the Steelers, Browns, Seahawks, Rams?
I think Steelers will fall out of it. I don't
Yeah,
think they'll
I
make the
don't think they
playoffs.
have enough. I'm
Their
surprised they're
quarterback,
even three
I
and
don't think
two.
their quarterback has enough, not necessarily talent, but he
Hand
doesn't
size.
doesn't have enough hand
He
size.
doesn't
Doesn't
have
have
enough
enough
hand size.
experience. I just don't think he's ready to lead that team yet. Najee Harris has looked awful this season, as he
I
did
don't
last
think I don't
season.
think it's his fault.
I don't think it's necessarily his fault, but there's been some clips of him that's just been like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah, well, a lot of that, he might be in his head a little, which is natural if you have no line. I mean, Sam Darnold even admitted to seeing ghosts throwing the ball at one point because he was just thrown into terrible situations,
Right.
and that'll take a toll on you for sure.
Um,
So I don't think it's all Najee. I think that O line's in
I
shambles.
think that team's just in. I don't.
Their wide receiver
They're
core,
not a
which
playoff team to me.
they used to be, the wide receiver core used to be like the shining light on the team. Now it's just been dismembered.
Not just that, their defense too. Their defense isn't
Yeah,
that much.
their
Either.
defense is old.
Yeah,
Like their D
they're like
line,
all at the point that they could
Cam
retire.
Hayward. Yeah, I only know because I used them in Madden against you one year, or what franchise we did, and let's just say that D line didn't last more than a couple of years. I had to start refilling it.
Browns, I think Browns have a chance,
See,
just because their defense is so good.
their defense is good, but they've always been a little inconsistent. So until I see more consistency like the Jets defense, I don't rely on their defense. If I'm a betting man, but I don't think I don't think they're going to be able to go the distance, even if they do make a wild card spot, because
Or are you wanting like all? I'm just talking about making the playoffs.
no, I'm just saying they've got a chance to make the playoffs. The problem is their ceiling is so low because their backup is playing better than their ridiculously paid
Right.
quarterback who's not even playing well, like as just up to normal, like Baker Mayfield standards right now. Baker's outplaying him, and
I
you gave this man a fully guaranteed contract. You don't have enough firepower from all your resources that you just gave to this one dude who's not even playing well.
right. I think they can make it. One thing that they gotta sniff out, which I think they kind of have now after last week,
Also, no
was
Nick Chubb.
yeah. That's where I was leading with it. Is their running back room?
Yeah.
It was kind of up in the air who was going to be dominant because they re-signed Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
He's back. I think they're going to go with him from what I've seen.
I don't
He
see
knows
why you
the
wouldn't.
offense better than Jerome Ford does. Jerome Ford did great while Chubb was out, but they got Hunt now, and I think once he takes over that backfield, it will increase that dynamic of that offense. They'll have the running game to lean on a little more and let that backup do its thing. So I think they're a hopeful. Ravens, I saw that they were on there. I think they'll make it, but I don't think it will be a limp across the finish
Yeah,
line.
look, I've got Lamar in fantasy, so I'm not a Ravens hater by any means, but I'll tell you, based on his fantasy stats, I would have never guessed they were 4-2.
He
Very
hasn't done too much.
underwhelming year so far from Lamar.
Well, they also had their running back get hurt too, and they've been bouncing around.
And I picked up Gus Edwards, which has been also underwhelming. So
What's the other one's name? I can't remember his name, but he's not been doing too bad.
yeah, I don't have what's his name. I don't have that
Justice
guy.
Hill. That's
Oh
his name.
yeah,
He's been doing okay. Jags. That one's kind of up in the air too. They have some talent for Trevor Lawrence to throw to. Finally, Calvin Ridley's been popping off this season.
yeah.
Not the other not. He's
Well, obviously, I'm bummed that the Falcons even lost Calvin Ridley, but happy to see him doing well in general, although maybe inconsistent. I don't think, again, that's going to be all him. That is a growing, maturing offense that they've got there.
Yeah.
Mainly Trevor Lawrence for obvious reasons, but it's going in the right direction. I mean, there was some real concerns with what's his name coaching them. Barbecue man, barbecue butt rubbing man.
I don't know where you're going with that.
His college coach that got fired in like 5 months or something ridiculous.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, Urban Meyer. We could go on all day about some of these bubble people. So those are the ones in the hunt. On the bubble, you got the Colts, Texans, Jets, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers, Titans, Patriots, and Broncos. So it's pretty much what they consider is on the bubble is the rest of the league, even
Yeah,
the
pretty
ones who
much.
aren't in the bubble at the moment, if you really want to be technical about it. But we'll keep it to the top ones. So 3-3 in the AFC are Colts, Texans, Jets, Raiders, Bengals. And then 3-3 in NFC is Commanders, Falcons, Saints are 3-4 actually.
I said it at the beginning of I don't remember what episode it was. I think Washington sneaks in. I think they're a sleeper. I think they can make it as a wild card team. Jets have the possibility to do it. I don't know if you've seen some of the stories on Aaron Rodgers here recently, but right now they're projecting him to be back week 15.
Didn't I tell you that?
I don't know.
There's not many times in life where you actually know that this is the moment where you can say, I fucking told you so, but I fucking told you so. And you were calling me crazy going, that's a lot of maybes. I'm going to pull the recording. We're going to cut it. We're going to short it. And yeah, we're going to highlight this moment for a while.
But they said week 15, week 16 he could be back. They have to win enough games at that point for him to take over.
But they just beat the Eagles with Zach Wilson. That's what I've been trying to tell you from the beginning. Zach Wilson-led Jets this year could be a wild card team itself. You get Aaron Rodgers back in week 15 and you can win those last 2 games.
But can they keep it up?
Well, I would say the biggest concern with this current situation, which is obviously not ideal from the beginning, is that in those last 2 weeks of the season, everybody's clicking with Aaron immediately. If they're not, and you can't figure it out in 2 weeks, odds are you're not going to have a first round bye. You're already
Right.
3-3. There's some good teams out there, especially in your conference. And if they can't hit the ground running with Rodgers, it's going to be moot him coming back, and you might almost be better off sticking with Zach Wilson. But then you're not going to be better off sticking with Zach Wilson if everybody knows Aaron Rodgers is healthy, because then he's going to have that mental game going on in the back of his head going, Aaron should be playing right now.
I guess we'll see once it gets there what actually happens.
I just went Inception level.
I see
like
that you went
mind
in
games.
depth, but you don't know for sure. He might not come back this season.
He might not, but ask yourself, if Aaron Rodgers says he's going to come back in time and not to count him out, and now all of a sudden we're getting reports that week 15 is a possibility, do you think if there's even any semblance of him being able to play in the first week of the playoffs, if they make it without him, that he's going to not try? Like,
I guarantee he's going to try.
you're right. He might fall over and rupture his Achilles again.
That's what I'm saying is like, from a coaching perspective, do you put him back in the game?
I'd probably leave it up to Aaron at this point if I was the coach, only because dude's, I think, older than some of the coaching staff. So it's like he practically is a pseudo coach at this point, especially with his game IQ. It's like, you know your body way better than I will. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the guy's playing with broken toes and stuff already. He knows if he can go. I understand it's an Achilles and it's not kind of the same thing to where you can kind of gauge the pain from day to day. It's either it pops instantly or it doesn't. But if he thinks, oh, it's feeling good, it's strong, and he can play, and he shows you in practice without rupturing it again, obviously I think I'd talk to the owner too.
What if scenario? I
Yeah.
guess we'll see once it gets closer what the timetable is and how the Jets are performing then. But I say if they're not in the playoff race at that point, you sit him for a year.
Yes, for sure. If they are not in the playoff race by the time he thinks he's ready to come back, you do not play that man at all. You have him for a few more years on his contract. He said he wants 1 or 2 years before he rides off into the distance. You make sure you make the most of that limited amount of time that you have. But you can do everything right and still get burned
Right.
when it comes to injuries. It's just so unpredictable. Again, not saying anything nobody doesn't already know, but I thought he could come back early. You saw the same thing with ACL repairs. The recovery time's getting faster and faster and faster. When there's so much money in the sports industry, they're going to sink as much into the R&D they can to rebuild these
Yeah.
players
Throw 'em back out there as
mechanically,
quick as possible.
prosthetically. I don't care what they got to do. They're gonna make sure these guys can get back on the field.
I think that's all my opinions, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure we can go all day on these playoff teams. We will for sure check back in on, the playoff picture as we go, obviously through the season, but also on Aaron Rodgers specifically.
All right. We've been fourth and nerd. Thank you to Mr. B's for letting us record here once again.
I need a nap.
Mr. B's, located in Pennington Gap, Virginia. Got everything you need nerd-wise. Pool tables, karaoke, Guitar Hero, computers, Xboxes, PlayStations. Anything else to add?
What?
All right. And so this has been the episode. I'm Logan. This is Jesse. Until next time. Later.
Bye.